Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. I'm going to do a short video on scraping the inside of your boat. So once you take the boat off of your strong back, there's going to be kind of a mess waiting for you unless you're really good at, and unless you've done this before, and maybe even if you have done this before, there won't be nearly as much cleanup. But in my case, haven't done it before, and there's very much a lot of cleanup. And there's some fairing, smoothing, rounding of the strips on the inside as much as there was on the outside. So what I mean here is this area here all looks pretty good. It's smoothed out. Nothing's too rough, but nothing too rough. But it didn't start like that. Basically popping it off, you had, go forward. You have a lot of these glue spots, and then the fact that each one of these strips is flat, making an overall rounded curve. So what you need to do is, in addition to sanding, you need to do a bit of scraping because these gaps are about 6 inches. It's kind of difficult with a orbital sander. There's sharp contours here to where you could only really use the lip of your orbital sander, which is that's fine. That's what we're gonna have to do. But then especially you can see my sander there. That's pretty tall, so I can't really get deep into that stem there. So there's certainly a lot of limitations. And I did wind up going to get a 3-inch sander, which I might talk about some other time. But this is about scraping. So what you do is, I don't know, if you're not familiar with scrapers, it's essentially just a piece of spring steel, soft. It's very soft steel, and what you do is you wind up polishing this flat. There we go. Polishing that flat. Basically, burnishing that flat edge there to create a burr on either edge. And so you take that soft spring steel and you cold work it into a much harder steel. And with that burr, it does a good job of actually acting as like a plane blade, allowing you to basically remove material. So you can't get even a block plane in there. It'd be silly, and with all the curves and stuff, even if these ribs weren't in the way, it'd be impossible. So the scraper allows you to get them up to the ribs, smooth out, remove any glue. Like with this, I'll use like a little chisel to flick off the, well, of course, right now. Oops. Yeah, maybe I'll edit that out. You can use a chisel to flick out these big glue boogers, which, part of the reason why I left them was that, it's a little bit easier cleanup than if it's smeared everywhere. But, and then, these scrapers are especially good. They're not great on cedar or softwoods. They're much better on hardwoods, but they're pretty good on epoxy. So it's hard to tell, but yeah, it's hard to tell, but those white shavings all are just epoxy being removed. It works pretty well. You can use a chisel to get after this. This is A+ footage here. You can use a chisel to flick off the epoxy as well. But when you're really trying to get down into it, you know, this is as good or faster than a sander is going to be, honestly. So you can grind your scrapers to different profiles, which, you know, really helps. You can, I mean, basically most of the scrapers that you get are going to come flat. There's something I think called like a gooseneck scraper you can get that's like several different curves that allow you to have multiple different curves for getting into different stuff. I don't own one of those. You should probably go out and get one. I'm sure at some point you'd need it, but I've got another video showing how to get into those contours. But I figured I'd just take some film of me doing the scraper just so you can see what it looks like. This is slow, it sucks. For some reason I'm having fun while building this boat, but you know, you look at the individual steps and you're like, man, this really sucks. But so yeah, let me take some film and maybe I'll see what things that I'm doing wrong, and maybe I'll look like an idiot, but you know, that's half of the fun. So, all right, here we go. I think a lot of people would already have or build by now boat cradle, basically like, you know, a couple sawhorses with a carpet sling or something to be able to rest this and be able to tip and rock this while you're sitting down somewhere, but I didn't do that. So here we are. It's fine. Kind of adds to the suckiness. I just wear knee pads and I just get after it. I've got this on painter canvas, so to help the bottom edges of the bottom board from getting around over. I haven't finished fairing this yet. I haven't, you know, epoxied and painted this bottom. So, you know, that's just the state of things here. I find I wind up actually using like the little ends to really go deep and really pick at, you know, certain glue lines. And you know, other times when I'm just trying to smooth out a whole plane, you know, you can switch to a much longer contour, and I find a scraper allows me to go both with and against the grain. So, you know, while sitting here, I can both come this way and I can come against this rib. Start scraping that out. And so I had like little epoxy booger there, and that completely knocked that down. And the rest is just removing the glue. So yeah, as I was saying, I definitely recommend big wide scrapers for, you know, a lot of flat areas. Much tighter radius scrapers for sharp curves. Like at the ends, there's not much curvature, but here, especially like in the middle of the boat where you have this big flat area and it sharply turns up, that's when these smaller ones come in handy. And it's good to just do a whole bunch of scrapers at once. You sharpen them all. You know, you're just doing it all in batches, so it really makes things go by faster. And so you can see, I've almost more or less removed that glue line. the epoxy is one thing. If you use Type-On 3, so I started out with the epoxy. The rest of this is Type-On because I want to be able to do like two rounds of strips in a day, and scarf joints in a day. The Type-On 3 sucks a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little softer. It's just more of a pain in the ass, really. But you know, as you can see, it removes it. So, you know, you might be thinking, well, looks like I'm just trying to use this as an eraser. That's you know, just a spot remove glue, and that's true to a certain extent. You know, it keeps you from gumming up your sander. But these radiuses really do help to dig into the flat spots and remove material down to get into the edges of each strip. Something else you can do, you don't necessarily have to only pull straight. You can skew this slightly and kind of like draw a file almost, to where you know, as you're going, you are scraping with the grain as you're going across, and that really does help to smooth out the undulations of these strips. Especially like if you're like me and didn't do everything perfectly from the start. See, it removes quite a bit of material quickly. I mean, that's basically it. Like, each one of these is probably, at the start it was taking me at least 20 minutes to do one, but you know, as I got better, faster at resharpening these scrapers, had more scrapers, and especially smaller scrapers make things a lot faster, because you're not trying to use the corner of these scrapers. You're able to utilize more of multiple scrapers. It really speeds up, and I really do think that, especially with the ribs being here in place, it's much faster than if you were to be using just a sander. Once I finish removing all the glue and smoothing things out, I will hit it with a quick 80 and with a 120 before I put a lightened coat of epoxy on it. But you know, that's for a future time. So anyways, I hope this helps, and let me know if you have any questions. Be more than happy to help. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't want you to think that I am an expert, but it's just sort of one of those things where, you know, a stretch project like this really helps you to develop skills that you didn't have before, and you know, out of necessity, you do wind up getting better at a you know, like, yeah, scraping kind of sucks. I'd rather have a hand plane to do all my work, but sometimes that's not reality. So excuse me. Thank you for watching, and happy woodworking.